Welcome to A Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next. I have some huge life updates. Like, oh my gosh, I haven't done one of these in a couple weeks, but even then, like, between last Wednesday and today, when I'm filming this, so much has happened in my life. For the better, for good. But it's just like, it's been a roller coaster. Lots of stuff's changed, lots of new routines being formed, but it's okay. December is my favorite month of the year, and that tradition is holding. So yeah, we're going to talk about first the things I've read, although the first one I can't talk about that much, and that is Heart of the Sun Warrior, which I read because I was buddy reading this with some friends, and I wanted to finish it before posting my 2022 releases that I've read this year tier ranking, which I did post on Monday. But I am holding my thoughts until my wrap-up, or... I hope I can talk about it during my wrap-up. This is a HarperCollins book, and if you don't know, there's a strike happening. I'll link Jess's video down below, and it goes into the details of the do's and don'ts for the picket line. And one of the things is we're supposed to still buy the books, but we're not supposed to post reviews or talk about them. And although I don't really consider myself like a big reviewer, I'm going to, respect that and not talk about it that much, but it's also a second in a series. But it's just kind of anger-inducing. Like, if you look at Jess's video, like, what they're asking for is truly the bare minimum for a company that's been seeing profits. Like, they're asking for the starting salary to be a whole $50,000 a year when you are forced to live near New York City. And New York City is very expensive. It's actually probably comparable to Boston. It's where I live and have to pay rent, so I'm just like, how do you do that? Like, how? Like, anyways. But that is why I will hold my thoughts. But I did read it. I did do that because I'm buddy reading that with some friends. And yeah, that is done. Next thing I did finish, and we'll actually have a discussion on this on Sunday with Tammy, so keep an eye out. I'll share the link as soon as we have it, but I think it's 1 o'clock on Sunday. I will correct that in the description if I'm incorrect, but 1 o'clock Eastern time is, I think, when we decided to convene to talk about Strange Beasts of China, which was an unexpected delight for me. I really enjoyed this, and it actually, ironically, really reminded me of reading The Last Wish by Adrian Tchaikovsky, which is a translated kind of short story collection that was translated from Polish to English, and this is translated from Chinese to English, and this is also very episodic and short story adjacent, and they're also both about monsters, and who is the actual monster. Like, there were a lot of parallels. They're also very different. One is sword and sorcery, and this one is... I don't know, a lot of people say magical realism. To me, it felt more like noir, like urban fantasy, but I think that's just going to depend on the reader. But we have this person who writes a column in the newspaper. She's an author, she writes books, and she used to be a zoologist who studied monsters in this city in China where a bunch of monsters exist. And each chapter is about a different monster and how her path collided with it. And it does go chronologically, like the first story is chronologically the first story. And so you see, like, kind of in a TV show, a meta arc of a plot, but it's very episodic. I actually kind of listened to just one story a day, which was really fun, except when I got to the end and I wanted to see, like, the conclusion of stuff, because, like a TV show, the meta arc starts to take more precedence. And I'm just really excited to discuss this, because this is also just such a good book for discussion because of all the themes that are being approached, and also the context of the work, because it was written in 2006, and it was really fun. I don't think a lot of people are actually going to like this book as much as me. I think I just also want to say that. Like, this was very much like, oh, I really like this, but I don't know if other people will sort of sci-fi book. Sci-fi fantasy, I don't really know. But it hit a lot of boxes I didn't know I needed. And it worked really well for me. I was also reminded of my experience reading Best of All Possible Worlds, which is also kind of an episodic thing with an overarching theme. And I thought that one I really loved because it was Karen Lord's writing and because it had this, like, subtle, slow burn romance plot overlacing it. That was its meta plot, but this one doesn't really have that, or maybe it does. I don't know. Regardless, I guess this is a type of thing I like because I now have 3 works that are really similar in their narrative framework that, like, I really love between The Last Wish, Best of All Possible Worlds, and this. Like, I don't know if it'll actually stick and be a 5-star, but it's at least in that 4.5-star territory, one way or the other. I haven't really settled on it. It'll probably depend on our conversation. I have no clue if Tammy liked it or not. Tammy and I both sometimes love the same things and sometimes have wildly different opinions. I have seen that she's finished it, but I've not asked yet because I am terrified. But since it is, like, such a niche thing, I wouldn't be surprised if it, like, didn't work for her as well, because it's also, like, kind of weirdly paced. I don't know. I really liked it. Like, enough that it's like, man, should I get a copy just so I have the, like, serotonin of looking at a book that gave me a good memory? It's that type of read. So those are 2 things that I've read. And then I was in a quandary. I had another buddy read starting. I have another book club I need to read for. And then neither of those were like fun, and I wanted to have fun. So what happened is Justine posts her Monday videos. It's her tea break videos. I love Justine. She's back on YouTube. Go follow her because she's back and I want her to stay. Justine's one of my first bookish friends. And her tea break are a lot like my Friday reads, just recapping what's happened in the last reading week. And she talked about how she was going to read Half a Soul. And I'm like, I've been wanting to read Half a Soul. I put it on my TBR. I just got the copy back from the library. You know what? On my way to the Bruins game, I'm going to start Half a Soul. And it's just as fluffy and fun as everyone on the internet said it is. I'm having a blast. I'm only 30% of the way in because I did actually like read the things I'm supposed to read for obligations, but when my brain needs to relax, which it does because life updates are coming and my brain is mush a lot of the time. It's a wonder I'm speaking coherently at all right now. But Half a Soul is really sweet. I don't know what to tell you. It's a Regency fantasy romance. I've already recommended it to like all my real life friends. It's all those things. Like, they're going to balls, there's a lot of manners you have to follow. Our main character doesn't quite fit into society because of the magical circumstance of losing half her soul, and she works with this sorcerer to try and fix that, and he doesn't fit into society because he doesn't agree with how society is, and he's a grump. And they interact with each other, and a romance is probably going to ensue, and it's great. I'm having a blast. But that said, other obligation reads that I'm supposed to read. I brought this back from Thanksgiving. This is The Gathering Store Mass Market that I bought for my stepdad when it came out in 2012, because we waited to buy him all 3 till they were all out. So I do have the hardback Memory of Light and the other Mass Market of this, and I am this far, which I didn't realize that I have somehow read like 200 pages of this book already because I'm like only like 15% of the way through. I'm gonna put up an image because I don't want to hold this anymore. Buddy reading this with Stephanie and Roger. Roger's already finished it because he's a champ. Stephanie is a little behind me, and I am trucking along. My thoughts. I was curious about picking this one up because it's the first Sanderson one, and I was curious how much of the writing style changes I would notice. And I still am primarily reading this audiobook just because of time, so maybe I wouldn't notice this as much if I was physically reading, or maybe I would notice more. I don't know. It still feels like Wheel of Time to me. And I think that's in one way probably a good thing for the fans of Wheel of Time, and another I'm just like, oh, it's a shame. It's really not like feeling like how I feel when I read a Sanderson. Granted, I don't listen to many Sanderson, so like in my head I'm like, well, you did listen to Oathbringer that one time, does it feel like that? And that was too far away for me to really know. That was like 2 years ago. But it feels like Wheel of Time. We are focusing on our main character so far, and I was told Egwene is going to have a fun time in this one, so that's exciting because I really like and I'm stressed about the situation Egwene's in this one. But otherwise, all of my complaints and pros and cons for the Wheel of Time are still standing in this book. I mean, the prologue was at least not as long. It was like probably a third of the length. It still had a lot of characters that I like just don't care about. There are these bad guys in Wheel of Time that I'm just like, I just don't care. I don't care. You'll tell me when something big happens, sort of thing. Because there is, for like people who love the puzzliness of the Easter eggs, ways of rereading and seeing these plots behind the scenes. But on a first read, and if you only tangentially care about that, it's really hard to pick those up until, like, the moment the thing happens. And then it was them all along. Roger had a funny line where it's like Scooby-Doo, where they always are going, like, if it weren't for you darn Taviran, like, you know, if it weren't for you little kids. So, I don't know. So, that's still happening. I don't have big changes in opinions. I do think right now it's not living up to how I felt about, like, Knife of Dreams, which I did like quite a bit. But I also read Knife of Dreams in, like, 3 days because of a car ride. So that might be part of it. And the other book I'm reading is Long Petal of the Sea by Isabella Allende, and this is great. Heavy, but great. I actually am liking her writing as much as I wanted to. I remember I was manifesting this is going to be a favorite author. I just wanted it. And that does seem to be the case. I am physically reading it. I'm not using the audiobook because sometimes with prose that I really want to like, I want to see what my own internal cadence does with it. This though starts, well, and is very heavy. Lots of conversation on refugees and how we respond to them globally, because this is focusing on the end of the Spanish Civil War in the 30s and following this little family unit and how they flee Spain after that Civil War to France, where France is just like, we cannot take all these refugees, we do not want them, and so then they are able to get on a ship and go to Chile. And so we're following all of that. And in the process, we see the horrors of the Civil War. We see the political machinations behind that. We see Europe on the eve of World War II. We see how refugees are being dealt with. We get, the contrast of people starving to death to the opulence of people on the first cruise lines in the 30s. Like, there's a lot here that I think is being balanced really well. I kind of wish I was a tiny bit closer to characters, but I also am not minding the arm's length, like, bird's eye view that I'm getting of everything. And the way that the land is described and the people are described is really nice. So I'm enjoying it. For my first foray, we're doing great. Like, yesterday I held patron reading sprints, and I was going to read Half a Soul because that's all I wanted to do. But I'm like, I should read more of this book because I need to discuss it on Monday for my book club. And I actually ended up reading more than I had to because I just really liked reading it, even though it's incredibly heavy, and I wouldn't say it's a breezy, fluffy time or anything like that. None of those words come remotely close to this work. So those are the things I am working on. And I don't know what I'll pick up next. I am probably going to be reading Fool's Fate fairly soon. So once again, Angela, why are you reading a Wheel of Time book and Realm of the Elden book at the same time? Because. I don't usually like doing that. It doesn't usually work for me, especially if it's a Fitz book, but we're going to try, especially because I'm going to be buddy reading it with Grace and both Bens, and the way that they buddy read, I've been listening to their Golden Fool's thoughts, I think is going to be really fun to buddy read Fool's Fate with. So that's going to be enjoyable. Maybe I'll pick up Persuasion if I have a chance, but next week's my birthday week, and so I might let myself just reread whatever calls to me. Because I've been thinking about The Best of All Possible Worlds because of The Strange Beasts of China. I've been thinking of The Last Wish. I've just been thinking of Nettle and Bone. I've been thinking about a lot of short works that I really like that I wouldn't mind spending some time reading. So that might happen. I do not know. But the last thing that I will show you before life updates is I got from Tor. I'm so excited. This is Into the Light by Marco Scherer. This is their newest YA release coming out next year. I think it's YA. Yes, Tor Teen. So it's YA because it says Tor Teen on it. If you don't know, somehow, I love Each of Us a Desert by Marco Scherer. I actually have been thinking about rereading that. That is behind me over here. Or is it up there? Yeah, no, it's right here behind me. I love that book, so I'm thinking about rereading that. But I also have this, which I think this might be horror adjacent. Keep Your Secrets Close to Home. I have no clue. It takes place in the American Southwest. I just want to read it. I just really do. I really like their writing. It looks like it's going to have some fun narrative. Like, there's a lot of cool space. I don't know how to describe what makes me excited about reading a book. It is purely right now aesthetic and tactile in how I'm holding it. And I think the cover is really cool. When I do read it, I will tell you more about it. But just know this comes out, I think April. It tells me somewhere. I don't know, April or March of 2023. And you best believe that I will be telling you guys all about it as we approach that time. So that's all the bookish news. Other housekeeping. I'll probably make a more concise announcement or video on it in January because this month we're going to be voting on stuff and I'd like to make a video talking about specific things. But Patreon, I have changed some things and we're doing some stuff next year that if you want to be involved in the voting process, I want to let you know about it now. But I'll have a video where I actually talk about this and the things we're going to be doing. But typically my Patreon, we've done a buddy read monthly, which is really fun, and we do reading sprints, and I had different tiers, we had different access to different things, and I've started adding exclusive videos with Ryan. But what I've decided, and this is completely inspired by Stephanie starting her Patreon, which I'll link that down below. It's lovely. I'm in that Discord. It's a fun time. And she decided to have tiers, but everyone gets the same thing. And I'm like, honestly, that's what I want to do. So if you can, support me with $5 a month, great. If not, $3 a month is all you have to pay to get access to everything in my Patreon. And that's going to include buddy reads, which I think we're going to change to every other month. But then in those every other months, we're going to have a read along for a series. And so these are the things we're going to be voting on for the first 2 initial buddy reads and for the first read along in December. So if you want to be in on those decisions, you might want to join. You don't have to. No one ever has to join. And I still plan on doing another reading sprint this month. There's always cat content, because as I always say, my Patreon is just used to pay for my vet bills. Because I have some super senior cats, and they have some vet bills. So that's just that little update there in case you wanted to be involved in that voting. Honestly, no pressure. And then my life update is, I can't seem to escape academia, which is okay, but I've been looking for jobs. And suddenly I was offered a postdoc near where I used to work, and next year is going to be absolutely bananas with the wedding and everything. So moving, finding a new job, and the wedding all at once seemed like a lot. And so I decided for at least the next year or two to accept this postdoc in a new lab, and I've been doing training, we've been applying for supplements, for grants, and that's been my week. It's exciting. I'm really excited to be being trained to do a new thing and be in a different lab with a different lab environment. It's really supportive so far. I mean, I've known these people for 7 years, so it's also not like super new. I'm excited, but it's also made my brain really mushy. I've been reading academic papers again. Like, this is also, like I've been saying with book stuff, it's like I've been feeling less burnt out. And that is the same academically, where I feel like I can enjoy science again and enjoy the act of doing experiments and doing research. And man, it is so much nicer when you don't have like the cloud of grades above your head, or the cloud of, if I don't get my dissertation done, I will never get to leave. Because I can leave whenever I want now. Which, you know, obviously I want to actually finish this project we're working on, which should be really cool. So that's my life update. That was very exciting. And next week I turned 30, which is bananas. That means all I've been doing is listening to Tick, Tick, Boom. If you know, you know. I mean, the first song is called 3090 because the creator of that musical turned 30 in 1990, which was 30 years ago, I think, or 33 years ago. An amount of time ago. But I'm going to stop this now because I'm very hungry, so I need to go have a snack. But if you want to leave an emoji, oh gosh, I don't know. A storm emoji. Gathering storm. Let me know any updates you want to know. Don't forget to check out Jess's video about the HarperCollins strike. If you can donate, do so. And that's it. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.